Good morning, CLC. I invite you now, in this moment in time, to just join me in welcoming the great wave that is Spirit itself into your heart, into your mind, into the very essence of who you are. If you feel so inclined, go ahead and take a nice, deep, cleansing breath in, breathing in cool, calming oxygen. And as you release the breath, release all that no longer serves you. Allow anything that is in your past or future to just wash away right now. Go ahead and take another nice, deep, cleansing breath in, breathing in cool, calming life. And as you release this breath, allow your body to just relax in this moment. Go ahead and wiggle any fingers or toes. Maybe let all the tension out of your neck or jawline. Allow yourself in this moment, at this time, to be here now. Universal love enfolds me. Universal wisdom inspires me. Universal spirit enlightens me. Universal power encircles me. I am one, and all is well. As we begin this inner healing process, let me invite you to relax in quiet confidence, opening yourself up to the miracle-working higher power. Now symbolize the unity of your thinking and feeling nature by touching your chest with your hand, and let my words act as your own, for your own inner healing, acceptance, and receptivity. I acknowledge that there is a power, intelligence, and wisdom greater than my own. I am in the midst of it, and it is in the midst of me, sensitive and responsive to my every thought, word, action, and feeling. I now make this true for myself by saying aloud, I acknowledge. Acknowledging this higher power working through my life, I admit that I am personally responsible for solving my own problems while being guided and assisted by something greater than myself. As I am ready to surrender the conflicts of my ego to the wisdom of this infinite presence, I simply speak these words: I surrender. Knowing that forgiveness is the key to unconditional love and the feeling of heaven, I now unconditionally forgive anyone and everyone who has ever injured me in any way, real or imagined. And I now forgive myself for all of my mistaken judgments and their resulting actions. From my deepest level of understanding, I now say, I forgive. Realizing that I continually experience the effects of my own thinking, I now choose to allow this higher power to recreate me deeply, filling my mind with thoughts that are only positive, constructive, loving, and beautiful. I call upon this divine inflow by stating aloud, I choose. I now center upon that one very special idea that I'm willing to accept as real for me in this coming week. Visualizing that idea as already acted upon and brought to pass. In seeing my idea become a fact of my experience, I enjoy the happiness and peace of my thought fulfilled and gratefully speak these words. I accept. Knowing that I have an everlasting place in the midst of the power that sustains all creation, as well as the support of all those around me, I allow myself to relax in the peace of fulfillment and gratitude and say, I release. Now, in my mind's eye, I envision the presence of someone near and dear to me. This can be a friend, a family member, a teacher or mentor, someone who has touched my life in deep and loving ways. Someone who may not be physically present in this room or even on this planet anymore. I turn to that image in my mind's eye and say, I'm grateful for the good in your life. Now I open my eyes, turn to the world around me, and joyfully speak to anyone physically present in this room or virtually on this broadcast, and share in confidence and gratitude in saying, I'm grateful for the good in your lives. I'm going to be doing some poetry for you guys today. The first poem that I have for us is entitled Ravya. Home, a sacred song, shimmers in this place, a twinkle of power and wonder dwelling behind the eyes of every face. Love, longing from loss, the soul yearning to find that single source. Meaning, a desire older than time, fire, stone, elemental liquid air, a secret knowing carried on the wind. Connection. Love is sensational. Love is terrifying. It can explode in the most exhilarating parts of us, and it can crumble us beyond exhaustion and despair. It's the best of us. It's the most of us. It is in all of us. It is us. That part of us that we give and share in and with another human that makes us the most human. Heart to heart. Soul to soul. I sense my senses through your life, your loving, giving experiences, and then in those unique, blessed, sacred moments, I know we are one and I am home.
When you read or recite poetry, Dainill, I don't want you to stop. I just sit there with my eyes closed and it's like, oh man, what fool is interrupting her? Oh wait, it's me. I had the extreme pleasure of spending the weekend with Lisa, David, Danielle, and 18 students in our schools of ministry. From two campuses, San Diego and Napa Valley, California, online on Zoom. And I know this sounds real trite when an old-timer says this kind of stuff, but if they're representative of what we've got coming up, this Centers for Spiritual Living is in great hands for the next, right? For the next 30, 40 years or however long they work it. I get real tired when people my age are like, oh, these young people, they have no respect, or they have no this, or they're not like we are. It's baloney. And because they said the same thing about us when we were young. And it wasn't true then, and it's not true now. And a lot of them aren't physically young in earth years. These students, this is their second or even third career that they're getting into. And the fact that they sat in a place like this and listened to somebody say some things and came back and took some classes and sat there every week and thought, yeah, this makes a lot of sense and I really enjoy this. And then a critical thing happened where they said, I could say it better than that person saying it up there. I want to finish their sentences. They zigged when I would have zagged, I have real life examples from my experience that I want to share, and I'm itching to do this, and that's why people go into this. In this particular teaching, yeah, it's a calling from God, sure, but the form the calling from God takes is sometimes annoyance. It's sometimes impatience. It's sometimes I've got to say this my way. I've got to do this my way, like the song says, or no way at all. So here we are then, and what we're doing today, I'm tired, frankly. It's been a long weekend, and I had 3 weekends ago I was with these people, and I mean, they're great fun, and I love them, and they're going to do great work, but they're also relentless. They are relentless when you're in a teaching environment. I mean, no sooner have you responded to a question than guess what? There's another one. And this went on. We did this 11 hours over the weekend, so I'm a little tired. So I'm going to give you probably a short talk unless I catch fire and burn up here. But this is, we're in a series that's drawn. This is nice having the notes in front of me. I don't usually do this. This is good, This is how most people do it, right? I should think about this. It took me years to get to the center of the stage. I used to stand over by the piano. Anyway, a series drawn loosely from the work of the Gnostics. Who were the Gnostics? Well, a group of people around the time of Christ, a little before, a little after, a loose gathering of people. They weren't like a religion. They weren't a cult. It was a philosophy, really. And they had a lot of different threads and strands to this philosophy. But the gist of the thing was that they sought knowing. That's what Gnosis, Gnosis, means, is knowing. It's a Greek term. And so they sought understanding. They sought wisdom and the application of wisdom, which is understanding, according to Proverbs. And they found it in a worldview that they made up. And it differs from writer to writer and time to time. But again, the theme of the thing was that God is unknowable as God. They had a term for God in Greek, pleroma, or fullness, the fullness of God. This is overarching, unknowable something. Beneath that, you have the principles and activities of God. You have the way God shows up in the world. We would think of that as spiritual science. We would think of that as the science of prayer, by which prayer in faith believing can move mountains, can generate outcomes, Well, that's the God, it's like the God that you and I transact with. When we meditate, we sit in the presence of that level or dimension of God. When we pray to and from that understanding of God. But beyond that is something that's greater that cannot be known. And I brought up, I think for you last week, I lose track sometimes because I'm in a number of different spaces, but I think I brought up to you Augustine's line. I said I don't really like Augustine. I'm not an Augustinian fan, but he got off some good lines every now and then. And let this be a lesson to us that the teachers that we're not really drawn to still say worthwhile things once in a while. He said, if what you're understanding, if you're understanding, let me put it this way, if you're understanding something, what you're understanding is not God. If you're wrapping your mind around something, that's not God. It's a subset of God. It's an expression of God. Of course, all things are. It's an experience of God, but it's not the totality of God, because if it were the totality of God, you couldn't begin to understand it. All you could do would be stand in awe of it. So it's a representation. It's a hint. It's a clue. It's an invitation to know more, to understand more. Somebody in yesterday's class said something about, I think they quoted Richard Rohr, and they said it's not about something being unknowable as much as it's about something being infinitely learned about. They put it better than that. Infinitely available to be known, but the knowing is never complete. Well, it's like the self. When you ask yourself about yourself, when you want to know more about yourself, you get that information. But along with it, you get an invitation to grow further. You get the information, but you get new assignments. You get new experiences. Every time we think we're creating a specific outcome that we're going to walk into, what we get is a process. Life is a process. Think of it in real practical terms. You'd like a new career, like these folks I was working with. You know, you want to go into, they have no idea what kind of process they're stepping into, not because it's that process, but because nobody knows what kind of process they're stepping into. We don't know what tomorrow's going to look like. We have a general idea it's going to look more or less like today, except tomorrow starts a work week, and so it may look like a typical work day does, but there's going to be a process. You don't know who you're going to run into. You don't know what they're going to say. You don't know what they're going to share, what they're going to evoke from you. We never know. It's all a process. And as soon as we get it figured out and say, oh, I'm comfortable in this situation, now I know who these people are and I know what they want and I know how to deliver it, as soon as we get comfortable, right, everything changes. We've talked about this many times before, but like in a job situation, as soon as you know what you're doing, this tends to be true, what I'm about to say. As soon as you really know what you're doing, they notice it and they promote you, and now you don't know what you're doing. And now you've got something else to learn, and this keeps on forever. And if you wind up being, I don't know, President of the United States or King of the World or the absolute top of your profession, so you walk in there and you say, I have no clue how to do this job. And as soon as you think you reasonably have it figured out, I suppose your term ends, there's something else that comes and gets you. Nowhere is this more true than in human relationships, because as soon as you think you've got other people figured out, they change because they learn more about themselves. And now you have to kind of scramble along to keep up. And of course, the same is true of you. People are like, don't ever change. Remember when they wrote that in your high school yearbook? You're 18. Don't ever change. Oh, okay. But of course we all do. And we confound each other and we surprise each other as we change and as we grow. So my point is that incoming information, the search for wisdom, this is what we're really all about. And I love this time of year in this part of the country because it gets cooler and the leaves fall and all of that sort of, and there's a mysterious kind of vibe to it. That's why we have the kind of fall looking thing here with the lights and the leaves and all of that, the whole Halloween kind of vibe. It's some people make it creepy, some people make it downright awful, just ghastly. To me, it's about the mystery with a capital M, the great mystery of life that's always beckoning you forward. And if you're like me, you want plenty of information. You want a roadmap. You want spiritual GPS going in, and it just doesn't provide that. The heroic quest that we've spoken of many times here that you're called on. They don't tell you where you're going to go or what you're going to find or what you're going to accomplish. They just say, come follow. which is why our initial response to that is always, no. I don't want to. You can't make me. I'm comfortable here. I want to pull the covers over my head and sleep another hour or two. But that's not how it works. And then you come to discover through the process, and I'll take you through the heroic journey again one of these days, step by step on a Sunday, but not today, because I'm tired. But you discover that you asked for this. You asked for this. At some point you said to the night air in your prayer work, show me who I am. Show me who I am. You know who did this in literature? And it's lost unless you really read closely. Is Ebenezer Scrooge. Ebenezer Scrooge. This is not the season to talk about Ebenezer Scrooge, but so what? He has those three spirits visit him who take him on this journey that comes full circle to where he recaptures his youthful joy and innocence and trust and wonder and becomes to the world a nicer person and a better citizen, you know, all that. But it shocks him when this happens, and he's doubting and he's complaining and fighting the process the whole way through until he comes to realize that a long time before, when he was suffering, when he was neglected, when he was abandoned, when he was making the bad choices that led to the outlook that he had that made him a terrible person to everybody who knew him, including his own family, when he was making those choices, he was dying inside and he was calling for help. And it took the help a while to get to him. But in retrospect, it came at the perfect time. Had it come earlier? I don't know. Well, for one thing, we wouldn't have had this story, and he wouldn't have been set up as the great example to people to do your work and all of that. But, you know, it wouldn't have been the cottage industry that is the Christmas Carol. But more importantly than that, to that individual, he had a process. He had a process. I sat there thinking yesterday about two things. One was that something I wanted to tell the students was that no sooner is this class over than you move on to the next things. About half of them, I think, were speaking in centers this morning like I am. In their training, in their internships, you know. And no sooner is this talk finished than it's about the class tomorrow night, and it's about this and it's about that. And so the process goes on in that way. So yesterday I wanted to tell them that, and I didn't, forgot, but I acted it out in the sense that when class ended last night at 6:30, I immediately shifted gears into thinking about what I was going to bring to you this morning, and sifted through a number of ideas and came up, not with Scrooge, he just jumped to mind here, but I came up with something else that I was going to vend to you around Thanksgiving, but now it's popped up and it's in my field of vision, so I'm going to give it to you now, and maybe we can revisit it then. And all that's a long-winded way of saying this. Around Thanksgiving, we always talk about forgiveness and gratitude, which go hand in hand. And how important these are, and what spiritual principles these are, and so on. And they are, and it's a beautiful thing. But a thought occurred to me about this, that what if we don't forgive? What if, you know what? What if this year, instead of letting bygones be bygones, we nurse some grudges? And I'm being serious. What if we just hang on to this stuff instead of letting it go? I know the Bible tells us let it go. I know all the great spiritual teachers say let it go and forgive. But what if this year we just hold on to it, to just follow it out where it leads in the process, like Scrooge did, who got the lesson that by being an awful person for decades, There was such a transformation that was able to occur when he finally broke through into the truth of who he was. And maybe we pull the plug on the process too early when we say, well, because Ernest Holmes and Jesus Christ and 12 other people have told me I ought to forgive, then I'm going to go ahead and forgive, or at least I'm going to look like I forgive. You know, I'm going to make a list and check it twice and that sort of thing. But so what if instead of doing that, we just follow the resentments to where they naturally lead? And I don't think it'll be a happy place where they lead. I think it'll involve ulcers. But why not just follow out the process and see so that we learn that this doesn't work? You know, don't you remember being told in your life by older people, wiser people, so many times, don't do that, you're not going to like what happens, and you're like, oh, okay, and you put it down, and then you wonder, well, what would have happened? Maybe we could find out what does happen. Or maybe we can split the difference and just imagine what would happen if we held on to these grudges, if we bottled up that energy and didn't use it in a constructive way. That's self-awareness. Self-awareness takes many different forms. It's about knowing who we are. It's about knowing our motives, our intentions, our ambitions, our biases, our desires, etc., etc. Long list of words there. All of these things. Why do I want what I want? Just as interesting, why do I not want what I don't want? Why do I not want what you want? Why am I not moved by seeing other people get things that don't interest me, move into experiences that I have no connection to at all? Am I being judgmental? Am I being hasty? Maybe I should care more about other people's choices in experience and try more different things. Maybe it's fear. Maybe that's what it comes down to. Maybe it's fear. Maybe it's fear of what happens if I don't get what I need or lose what I have. What happens if it's fear, of showing up, of doing something. Fear of failure. Fear of failure. Fear of success. Fear of success which tees up greater failure. This is why a lot of times we don't want it. We want to be in the school play. We want to try out for the school play, but if we get the part, then we have lines to learn, and then they push us out on stage, and then there we are under the lights, and our family and everybody we know is sitting out there, and we're getting to fail on a huge level. It's fear of success a lot of times. Fear holds us back. In the Gnostic writings, of a part of it called the Gospel of Truth, they talk about fear comes in like a thick fog. Isn't that vivid? Comes in like a thick fog, a solid fog. It's so solid we can't see through it. It's impenetrable. It blocks our way. The fear. And fear, there are several acronyms for it. One of them is filthy but funny, but there's an acronym. Some of you know it. There's an acronym that's not only appropriate for family life, but that is really on the money. False evidence appearing real. False evidence appearing real. False evidence that says you are what you accomplish. You are your possessions. You are your status. You are just the roles that you play in life. That's false evidence. And when it appears real, then we have put our heart out there. We have attached the meaning of our lives to these specific outcomes. And it's no wonder we suffer when things change. It's been said that to one who is good with hammers, every problem is a nail. So if we think we're good with hammers, if we think we're a living hammer and there are no nails around to drive, then who are we? What are we about, you know? The quest for knowing takes us back to this place that's cryptically described in the book of Exodus as being the I am. The I am. The I am is not the I do. It's certainly not the I have. It's absolutely not the I was or I will be. It's the I am. Now, today, the fullness. And this is how we mirror the pleroma, the spiritual fullness. in ourselves is I am enough, just as I am. That which I seek, as Rumi told us, is seeking me. Ever since it heard my name, joy has been running through the streets trying to find me. I am enough right now. Perhaps what I'll do is just stop and stand still and let it catch up with me and let all the love that's seeking me kind of run into me, you know, and let all the sense of self that I'm ready to release just fall away from me. It's a good time to molt. It's a good time to shed all that accumulated debris of compensations, these mechanisms that we seek out. Scripture calls many inventions, you know. All of this unnecessary peripheral stuff, just let it fall away. Say, I am enough right now. And to the night air say, show me who I am. Show me who I am. From that I will decide what I must do, where I must go, who I will accompany, and so on. Show me who I am right now. So what I invite you to do is go on this quest, this inner journey. It can take an evening. It can take a week. It can take up the rest of your life. It has many different stages and winds in the road and so on. But go on this quest within the self to say, who am I? And if you say to yourself, you know, like, well, I want to be a better servant of God, or I want to be a better human, or these are all perfectly valid, wonderful things. Realize that it all starts here. It all starts here. Just like when somebody says, I want to be a CSL minister, that stands for Centers for Spiritual Living. Religious science, our teaching. The science of mind, our teaching. Somebody says, I want to teach this stuff. We don't just hand them a document and say, fine, off you go. Not formally to teach. Somebody says, I want to teach this stuff. They say, all right, fasten your seatbelt. Get ready to know more of who you are. It starts right now. That's the journey. That's the quest. You can go on it now. You can go on it later. Why wait? Let's know together now. There is one life, one presence, one power, pure spirit, everywhere manifesting, everywhere radiant. It made this beautiful day. It made this cool air that's blowing into our region. It made this earth that we ride on, this blue ball. It even set it up so that something flew into it millions of years ago and caused it to go a little cattywampus off parallel, and that gave us, in relation to its star, that gave us seasons. In our part of the world, it's fall, and it's a time to let go. It's a time to seek, to follow the great mystery, and I affirm and know that for each one of us, it's easy to do this. It's our heart's calling. If we weren't to do this, we wouldn't know that we could. We wouldn't have ever heard about it. But here we are, sitting in that conversation, open to that possibility, willing to know, willing to grow, willing to come home to ourselves, to the great I am that I am, that is expressing itself and always has through us. We let go of fear. We question it, we explore it, and we take the emotional charge out from under it. We change our opinion of self and others, not because somebody's told us we ought to, but because there are burdens no longer worth carrying. And we know this, and we are free. For this knowing and its manifestation in form everywhere I turn, I am so deeply grateful. I release this word now into the infinite, calling it done, and so it is.
So now we found out, Reverend Jesse, you are a person of notes. He said he was using notes. Right. How's it? You got it? Come on, Brian. Well, I was kind of wondering, since we call autumn fall, why don't we call spring get up? Spring up. That's better, yeah. Let's spring up. Springing into action here. All right. So as we come up to giving time, just please either physically or metaphorically take your gift in your hand, and we just want to thank you for all the support you give us. It helps us to continue getting our message out to the world, which is one of hope, one of love, and we really need it in this time. So now say with me, divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all the good I am and have, all the good I give and receive. I am prosperous now, and so it is. And here, I do believe, is our poet laureate. Yes?
Yes.
Dainill.
Yes. Oh, and just so everyone knows, because I don't say it all the time, if I do not attribute a poem to an author, then I wrote it. I would always attribute any poem that I don't write, just so everyone is aware. And this next poem is one that comes from my Chak Love series. I've done a few of these before. I may have done this one before as well, but, we shall see. This is Chak Love number 7, I Am. Senses mingle, words blur. The sweet, tingling sensation of everything merging into nothingness. I am one with you. Interwoven from the same thread, co-creating the cloth of life across time and lifespans. Every thought, every word, every presence, every verb flows through you into me and then to you, connecting us in universally divine wisdom, never before imagined, yet omni-existent and present. I am one with you, basking in the vast expectancy of unlimited possibilities. Thank you.
Now, those are my responsibilities, and now I get to do my favorite thing, which is to release you out into the world, but encourage you to take some of this with you. It's all sacred all the time. Brian told us that with the song Holy. And my friend Terry, one of our practitioners here, she says, every moment is a holy moment. Every moment is a holy moment. And when you stop and remember that, then that's when the Gnostics come sweeping in. Oh, right, this is a holy moment. As awful and messy as this moment is, because occasionally they are, it's still a holy moment. So I encourage you to take a nice deep breath. Breathe in that spirit. Breathe in that holiness. Breathe in that sacred. And as you release the breath, let go of everything that doesn't look like that. I'm not willing to hold a grudge to see where it goes. I've been there, done that. I'm not going to do it again. So that's what I let go of when I breathe out. Take one more nice deep breath. And relax as you release the breath and step with me into the mists. Not the fog, but the mists. And know that there is one life. There is one power. There is one presence. There is one love. I live that life. I channel that love. I am a vessel for that presence. I am a vessel for that power. just as I know that each and every one of you is also. I know that this moment is holy. I know that God looks back at us when we look in the mirror. And I hold this knowing as we walk through this week. The reminder that oftentimes we are the answer to other people's prayers. And the reminder to see other people as the answer to our prayers. Praying doesn't change God. Praying changes us. And that is the superpower. So I am knowing a gentle week. That which you seek is seeking you. That which is yours comes easily to you. That we are surrounded by love and we are held in that eternal comfort. And I am grateful. I am grateful for a place. I am grateful for a teaching that teaches me who I am. I am grateful for a community that comes together to remind each other of that fact. I am grateful for our ministers, our practitioners, our musicians. I am grateful for the incredible seriousness and the light-hearted silliness and everything in between. And I am grateful because it's just another word for love. And I relax, releasing my word into the law with love, knowing that it is done. And so it is.
Say with me now, something wonderful is happening through me.
Something wonderful is happening through me.
I feel it in my body.
I feel it in my body.
I feel it in my mind.
I feel it in my mind.
I feel it in everything I am.
I feel it in everything I am.
I choose it.
I choose
I
it.
trust it.
I trust it.
I use it.
I use it.
And I love it.
And I
And
love it.
so it is.
And so it is.